After midnight, 6 June 1944, the night sky over Normandy suddenly erupts with anti-aircraft fire and flares, and waves of Allied planes flying overhead. It's the start of a day that had been coming for years, the longest day, D-Day. More than 13,000 American paratroopers of the 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions began dropping from C-47 transports, descending into France and an awaiting German army. Among the men who jumped into Normandy was Edward Shames, a young sergeant who was soon promoted to second lieutenant, the first NCO in his battalion to receive a battlefield commission.
By the time we got across, all hell occurred. We were passing over Guernsey and Jersey islands. We got flak from there, but it didn't reach us. It looked like it was the 4th of July. Stuff was coming through the aircraft. You could hear it.
The early hours of D-Day proved even more chaotic than planned. Intense anti-aircraft fire and coastal fog forced the paratroopers' planes to break formation, causing most to miss their drop zones. Scattered across Normandy, their first challenge was to find their units.
So scattered out, we had some men from the 82nd with us, maybe a plane load, and we had some other men from the American mobile artillery.
We did what we were trained to do. We were trained to work as a unit, or if the unit got broken up for some reason, we were trained to act individually.
While the Normandy invasion proved a success, the 101st suffered serious personnel and equipment losses. The division returned to England for refitting, replacement, and training before being called upon to jump again into Holland for Operation Market Garden. The ambitious plan aimed to drop paratroopers throughout the Netherlands and secure vital bridge crossings while ground forces raced up from behind, plowing a route into Germany and ending the war by Christmas. Among the paratroopers battling was Guy Whiddon, a veteran of the D-Day jumps whose leg was nearly blown off by a German shell that killed 2 of his friends, a grievous wound that would end his war.
All of a sudden this mortar hit us, and I won't describe how it looked, but it killed Chuck right away. I looked down at my boot was blown right off, and my tibia was exposed. Gangrene or something had set in, that's why they wanted to cut it off. I said, "I don't think so, sir. This is my leg." But they were understaffed, and it was easier to amputate than it was to try to preserve. And man, it didn't feel too good, but he treated that. He obviously did a good job.
Hopes of a quick end to the war and a return home by Christmas were dashed. Instead, the men of the 101st would spend Christmas 1944 in a much different place. 16 December 1944, the German army, reeling but not beaten, plows west into Belgium through thinly held Allied positions, launching a final massive offensive that would become known as the Battle of the Bulge. A key German objective was the Belgian city of Bastogne, a highway center that would be needed to rapidly move armored units west. With no infantry available, General Eisenhower called upon the paratroopers of the 101st Airborne once more. Upon their arrival, General Anthony McAuliffe, acting commander of the 101st, was given just one order: hold Bastogne. Along the northern perimeter with G Company of the 506th was a veteran of the drops into Normandy and Holland, Jim Pee Wee Martin.
I saw a little sign said Bastogne. That's how ignorant we were. We didn't even know how to pronounce the name, didn't know what country it was. They put us in a roughly 20-mile circumference circle around the town of Bastogne. The objective was to stop the Germans from getting to Antwerp, where all of the supply dump was for us.
Bastogne had a road net of 7 roads that the Germans had to have to move around that forest area, or else they couldn't move if they had snow, and we were having snow to begin with right then and there.
The snow started, the temperature went down to as low as 15 below zero. You know, when you're really cold, you shiver to keep warm. We had so little food that there was not enough energy, and we quit shivering. That means you're really in bad shape, and the doctors couldn't understand how we survived.
Soon after, American armored forces broke the German line, ending the siege. Though heavy combat still remained, victory in the Battle of the Bulge all but assured the Allied triumph in World War II. And much credit for that victory was owed to the men of the 101st Airborne, who at Christmas 1944, in the bitter cold in a small part of Belgium, obeyed their orders. The surviving men of the 101st Airborne Division continued on into Germany, where they helped capture Hitler's mountain retreat dubbed the Eagle's Nest. Among the first Americans to reach the chalet was Edward Shames. He readily helped himself to Hitler's wine cellar.
I got a little bit of the silverware, plus a bottle of cognac, Hennessy cognac. And on the bottle of cognac it says, for the first use only. I kept the bottle of cognac and I brought it home, and I used the bottle of cognac to celebrate my son's 13th year bar mitzvah. And of course, after we got rid of that beautiful cognac, we threw the bottle away. I was told just recently, had I saved that bottle, it'd be worth $10,000.
And we just run around the scrounge and picked up a little loot and stuff and had a hell of a time.
Millions of Americans served during World War II. More than 400,000 died securing victory. The men of the 101st Airborne Division played their role, suffered their losses, and did their duty.
There were a lot of things you gained by all that experience that are positive things.
I consider it an honor and a privilege to have been part of history. I've gained far more by going into this unit and doing what we did than I ever would of anything else.